Suzanne Snyder on the Fisch Bowl. Welcome.
Thank you.
It is a pleasure having you on the show. Here we are at Horror Realm 2017 March Madness. I usually like to start off my interviews with asking my guests, what are some of your favorite films and what got you interested in film?
My favorite film. Gosh. Well, I'm trying to think. So interested in film. Yeah, unlike Amanda and Diane and Jill, it wasn't my first choice to be an actor. I was going to school at Northwestern and I was pre-med. And a really dear friend of mine at the time that I went to high school with, who actually became quite famous, his name's Richard Marks, he's a singer and songwriter, was into photography. And he took pictures of me and he said, you should take these pictures to a modeling agent or an acting agent because I think, you could do something with that. And I was like, okay, if you want to take pictures of me, that's fine. And then I took them down to the agents in Chicago and I got agents and I started working. And Class came to town. They were shooting Class with Jacqueline Bissett, Longbow, and Johnny Cusack. John was my boyfriend in Class. It was our first acting job together. And I was like, wow, this is really fun. And I like this. So I started taking acting classes, and then I got flown out to LA, and I got a job. And this love for acting and filmmaking and being creative kind of sprouted up in me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm trying to think of my favorite films. I can't think of any right now. I need a little more time. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well, why don't while you're pondering that, let's talk about some of the films you've worked on.
Okay.
Specifically, Weird Science and Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Okay.
Now, I actually met Anthony Michael Hall at one of the Still City Cons. Not the last one, I think it was the one in August or April. And, let me just say, what a gentleman.
I love him. He's awesome.
He was so great to talk to. I'm still in the process of trying to follow up with him to get him on the show. I understand he's a very busy guy, but what a pleasure to talk to. I mean, because I like these conventions because it's a lot easier to talk to the guests, such as yourself. And the Still City Con, it's a much larger convention, and the lines are kind of run more like assembly lines, and you don't really have the chance to talk to the guests like I can here, and when I talked with Anthony, he took more time than he should have to talk to each and every fan that went up to him. But what made me, what brought like joy to meeting him for me was when I mentioned that I was a screenwriter, and that I just graduated, like the interest, in his facial expressions and just in general was like all there, full attention on me. And he was like, it's like, he was like recruiting or something, for who could be the next big thing. And, I haven't had a chance to follow up with him to get him an interview yet. I'm trying. He's a busy guy, but when that happens, it's going to be great because, that it's just a pleasure talking with, Anthony and yourself, and, a lot of those movies from the 80s are just...
I'm hugging her. Yay! I love and please contact Deborah so we maybe can all get together and come take a picture and do it because it's like a thing.
That was Diane Franklin, everyone. Come to intrude on the Suzanne Snyder interview. But Weird Science was such one of my all-time favorite movies from the 80s, especially being a John Hughes movie.
Right.
You know, and I kind of like that one the most out of all the movies that he did during that time period. You know, The Breakfast Club is fun. You know, it's a classic, but Weird Science is quirky. You know, and you got to see a young Anthony Michael Hall. You got to see a young Downey Jr. and a young Robert Russell also. You know, and Bill, right, and Michael Berryman and Vernon Wells.
I love Michael. Yeah.
You know, I had Michael on the show a while back, and he was a pleasure to talk to.
What a smart, kind person.
Right.
Lovely. Yeah.
And, you know, I have to say Killer Clowns from Outer Space is, you know, like, I always love movies with, like, in a sense, like, demonic clowns. And, you know, that movie is not only, like, fun, you know, it's really, really enjoyable, you know, to watch. It's like an 80s, you know, B-grade classic. And I'm very proud to say that I've collected all of the action figures from that movie. So, like, I have the super rare run from Soda Toys, and then I have, like, the single, you know, clowns from it might have been Monstars that did it.
Wow, that's
But
awesome.
you know, I love those movies. But can you talk about some of your experiences working on those films, especially with John Hughes and that whole bunch?
Sure. So I think the thing that was cool about Weird Science was, well, first it was fun because I read for Breakfast Club, but they really already had people in mind for that. So John said to me, I love you, and I'm working on another film, and I'm going to bring you back for that film because I think you're perfect for that film. And he did. And I got it. So that was kind of fun. What was cool about working on Weird Science was we had 2 weeks of rehearsal. So it really brought all of us together, and we all became really close, good friends. And John is, he's got so much humanity in him that he watches you and he listens and he incorporates who you are into his script. So it kind of all intertwines together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that was, it was a really magical time. And Bill had this fabulous idea for Chet. And so John loved what Bill was doing and just let him go. So every time you worked with Bill, you never knew really quite what he was going to say. He was going to stay within the structure of the scene, but you never knew what he was going to say. So it was super fun because it was exciting. It was just exciting. And we all became really good friends, and we shot it where I grew up in Illinois, and the mall where we shot it was the mall I went to with all my friends in high school. And the house where we shot, you know, the party scene, I went to high school with the boy whose house it was. So the dad answered the door, and I was like, Mr. Mulder. So I was at the house where, I mean, I'd been for parties and stuff. I knew the people. So that was a really special time. My mom and my grandpa would come to the set. And so it was really fun to shoot it in my hometown.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of that. That brings a whole new element to that movie.
And because we rehearsed at Universal, like we got to see, like we saw Purple Rain in a private screening before anybody saw it, and Joel Silver knew some of the guys from Bruce Springsteen's bands. We got to meet all of them. So it was just really cool, like things that happened during that time that made it a very, very special film.
Right. It's like, you know, I was talking about this with Diane, and she probably said it best, but, you know, John Hughes was the first really writer-director to make teenagers the focus of his, you know, the film in the 80s.
He made them the focus, but I think he really understood teenagers.
Yeah,
so
that
they
too.
were the focus, but
they were relatable.
Deeply into who we were as teenagers and how we felt. the angst and the joys and the challenges, and he got all of that, even the growth. Like, you saw teenagers
For what they
grow up.
right.
I mean, how wonderful teenagers can be. That it's not just challenges and zits
Right.
and crushes, but that there's more to them than just
Right.
that. And he was so sensitive in how he approached the situations and allowed the characters to grow and discover. He was a great director.
I definitely.
What he wrote was awesome. How he wrote it.
I definitely agree, and I was born in 1988, so I'm still like a product of the 80s, and I grew up rewatching the John Hughes movies on cable, and it taught me a lot of life lessons, and in a sense prepared me for my own teenage years, which lied ahead, because after seeing 16 Candles and Weird Science and The Breakfast Club, it's like I knew the traits of teenagers and what they were about, in a sense that made it easier for me to be a teenager when I approached teenage years.
Well, and he was like our dad. He was our director, but he was also like our dad in a way.
Right.
So how he spoke to you when he directed you, there was something very loving and caring when he spoke to you.
Right.
And so was the crew.
Right.
Matt Leonetti. I mean, the crew were also like that with us. So it was like a family. It was really nice. And with Killer Clowns, we were on location for 2 months in Santa Cruz, and so everybody became very close there. And the Kyoto brothers, because they're 3 brothers, and they grew up making films since they were little boys. Their interplay and how they worked together and how they talked and how they brought all of us together and how they explained the special effects. So they would explain everything before we did it. It was fascinating how much you learned about the special effects and how brilliant and creative they were.
Right.
So it was super fun. I made great friends on both of those films. For my life. So that was, making the films was one thing, but then to come away with dear personal friends.
Right.
Makes it, even
priceless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I shared this on Facebook a few weeks back. Hollywood is planning, I believe, 3 more Killer Clowns from Outer Space movies.
I have heard that. There's a prequel.
Yeah.
I know that one's already written. I know, yes, I am aware of that. I think that they're just trying to figure everything out.
Right.
But
now,
yeah.
me personally, because that's one of my all-time favorite, B-grade horror sci-fi films from the 80s. And also, like, I love any films with, like, a demonic clown. It's being the first film to give me nightmares. And Killer Clowns, like, didn't give me nightmares, but I'm like, this is just cool. This is just really cool. The concept is so, like, ludicrous that, like, it works, because it's the 80s. And there's a lot of concepts throughout a lot of movies in the 80s that, sound dumb, but when you watch it, it's like, this is actually pretty.
Genius.
It's genius. It's genius.
How campy and funny.
Right.
They just took it.
Right.
This is the box. Let's make the box this big.
Right.
And it was hysterical.
Right.
Very funny.
I love the cotton candy guns, and like
the sippy straws to drink the blood out of it.
Right, and then the pies, the acid pies.
The acid pies.
Like that type of writing just is like so influential for me, with my own writing, because I just graduated from Point Park last year for screenwriting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And my favorite genres to write in are horror, sci-fi, or combining the two. And Killer Clowns from Outer Space is just, there's so much in that movie that's like a study guide for what you need to do to like make a good, B-grade sci-fi horror film. There's horror elements, there's comedy, there's action, there's sci-fi, You know, it was kind of like, you know, returning to like the 1950s, you know, with like the style of like, you know, the saucer movies and everything, you know, and I often viewed the 80s as like, you know, a reimaginative version of the 50s, with the films that were coming out, because in the 80s you pretty much had a lot of movies that were originally aired and made their debut in the 50s and then got remade in the 80s, like The Fly, The Fly 2, The Thing, you know, The Blob, Wolf, Cat People, you know, like the list goes on, you know, and then you had a lot of movies that were like a tribute to the 50s movies with like an 80s updated, you know, B-grade sci-fi twist, and Killer Clowns from Outer Space was one of those, and one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, it's true. And the Kyoto brothers are so creative and such geniuses in how to do these very cool special effects.
Right.
And explaining everything so you could understand it. I mean, it was hard sometimes because you wanted to watch the special effects because they were so cool instead of act. Does that make sense what I'm
Right.
Like the popcorn, how they got the popcorn in
Right.
them and just so I mean it was yeah, I hope they get to make another one because it was they're really
I hope so too.
Really
and if you get called back for the next one or however many they do, please keep me in mind. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
Well, there's supposed to be 3, one with Grant, one with me, and then one with John Allen. That was the idea.
That was okay.
At least. I don't know
Awesome.
if that'll happen, but that was the idea. Yeah.
Awesome. Then we should definitely do a follow-up interview when you know that's going on, or if you have anything else to promote. I would love to do a follow-up interview. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and the Fishbowl 88 on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay, so I have movies now.
Yes.
So one of my first favorite movies was The Mission. I loved The Mission because it was so beautifully shot. So beautifully shot. And then I also liked Water for Chocolate.
Okay, yeah.
So those would be 2 of my favorite movies.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a good place to stop.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Suzanne,
It was nice talking to you.
thank you for...
I wish you the best with your filmmaking.
Thank you so much. I just thank you for swimming in the bowl with me.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure, and I look forward to doing a follow-up interview.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much.